Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to be here with all of you tonight. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell. I'm so glad to be here with all of you. I'm getting ready to fly back tomorrow to New York City, but this is my last night in San Francisco. It's been a wild week covering the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, but it's been good. I'm glad that I've done what I've done. Going to be an interesting video that'll just show you everything. I'm working on editing all of that together. It's going to be pretty cool. So yeah, anyhow, glad you're all here. We're going to have a late night chat here tonight before I leave San Francisco. So let's do it.
Century. I say that the century on which we are entering can be and must be the century of the common man.
A radical redistribution of economic power.
I mean, we know that racism is just a byproduct of capitalism. Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people.
We need a government that will make sure Americans are taken care of and organize the economy to serve the people, not the profits of a wealthy few.
We now have the techniques and the resources to get rid of poverty.
We got to start getting out there with the people.
Get out of the movement and get to the masses.
We need a government of action.
Welcome, 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 everybody. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell. The way we do things here is I give my opening remarks. I talk about what it is that I want to talk about. While I'm doing that, I'm taking note of super chats that come in, Rumble rants that come in, Rockfin tips that come in. I'm taking note of those. And then in the second half of the program, I answer your questions. Now, before the second half, we do a roll call where we find out who's watching, who's on the other side of the camera. That's always fun. But yeah, so that's how it works. First, the opening remarks. Second, roll call. Third, me answering your questions. So send me some good questions. Get me talking. Ask me some good questions. Those of you watching live, you have the ability to make the second half of the show go however you want. So that's my advice. I see Lee Stranahan is already in the chat. David Fox is in the chat. A lot of great folks are in the chat. So yeah, just a quick reminder. Actually, it's a new poster. If you haven't seen this poster yet, I don't think. This is a new poster that we've got. So December 2nd in Portland, Oregon, we are having our national convention, and the Center for Political Innovation National Convention is going to be very, very amazing. It's going to be very awesome. And we have got an all-star cast of people. Lee Stranahan, who's in the chat, he's going to be there. In addition, we got Scott Ritter. We got Jyoti Brar. We got Pasta Jardula. We got, he's from Convo Couch. He's been hosting the Jimmy Dore show. We got the great Peter Coffin, who's making a documentary film about the conference. We got Sayed Hosseini, who is an Iranian-American, very pro-Palestine, very anti-imperialist, really understands the Islamic Revolution, etc. We got Garland Nixon, the great radio host, Sputnik Radio, and we got the amazing folk singer, David Rovics. And in addition to that, a number of our other friends are going to be there. You know, Rainer Shea, he's going to be there. Chris Halali of the Party of Communists. It is going to be quite a shindig. It is going to be quite an event. You really don't want to miss it. It'll be an anti-imperialist mega rally that'll go all day, 3 panels. It's going to be great. It is going to be great. So now is the time to register for the conference. Make sure that we know you're coming, because we're hoping we'll be able to feed everybody. That is our hope. We're not sure where we're at with budget yet, but if we're able to feed everybody, we need to know how much food to order ahead of time. We would like to give at least light refreshments, so that's one thing. So if you're going to be there, please go ahead and register for the conference, and I'll drop that in the Rockfin. Go ahead and register for the conference. I'll drop that on the Rumble. Go ahead and register. We would love to have you there. So go ahead and register for the conference. Please register for the conference so that we know you're coming. 78 people are already registered at this time, but the room holds 250. So we want to fill that room up. So please register. There's great outreach going on. People are putting up posters, etc. In addition to that, because we have so many big name speakers coming in from out of town, because, we have expenses, etc., we are trying to raise money to cover the cost. We want to have a nice food for everybody who comes. We want to be able to, have good housing for our out of town volunteers who are coming in to help out. We're going to be doing a lot of different things, Palestine rallies in the lead up to it, and rallies to support Uhuru and things like that. So if you can shoot us a small contribution, it would really make a huge difference. My ask tonight, right? I know that a lot of you are not in a position to give huge donations. My request tonight, just throwing this out there, right? And I think that there are many of you watching right now who can send us $5 right now for this conference. I think there's many of you right now who can go to Give, Send, Go, and you can just send us $5 to have this epic, amazing conference to support Scott Ritter, Jody Brar, Craig Pasta Jardula, Peter Coffin, Syed Husseini, Garland Nixon, David Rovix, Lee Stranahan. You can send us $5. You can send us $5. So I would request that everyone who can, everyone who wants to support this conference, go to this website right now, go to Give, Send, Go, and drop us $5. Just drop us a $5 contribution. If you can do it, you'll make my day. You'll make me very, very happy. If not, we understand, but a lot of times people don't contribute because they are convinced, well, they don't have a huge amount to give. But if a lot of people give $5, that goes pretty far. So I'm requesting right now that those of you who want to support this event and want to make a statement more than anything, right? Go to the Give, Send, Go, drop us $5, drop us a $5 contribution. So if you can do it, great. Drop us $5. Jamie says, I can do it on Tuesday. Great. All right. Do it not today, do it Tuesday or whatever. We're still trying to get all the money together. Everything's pretty much paid for. But we're trying to make sure that things go smoothly. A lot of loose ends that need to get tied up. So if you can drop us a small $5 contribution to help the conference happen, boom, that would be awesome. But anyway, you all, I do want to appreciate all that you have done. And while we're making announcements here, before I get to the meat of the show for tonight, I do want to let everybody know, that right now the president of the Center for Political Innovation is overseas. It is really, really awesome. We have an amazing president. Her name is Elizabeth Young. Elizabeth Young is based in Portland, Oregon. And right now, Elizabeth Young is on the road. She is on the road. Hold on. She is in Athens, Greece right now, attending the World Anti-Imperialist Platform Gathering. I was going to go myself, but I couldn't because I had to be here to cover the APEC Summit. So right now, she is in Athens, Greece, meeting with the People's Democratic Party of South Korea and the Party of Communist USA and the Communist Party of Great Britain, Marxist-Leninist, and the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, and so many other really amazing revolutionary organizations. She's meeting with all of them, and they just had a 5-hour, can you believe it, a 5-hour pro-Palestine anti-imperialist march in Athens, Greece. And so she was there. So give all of your faith and hope and energy to, your prayers, etc., to our beloved Elizabeth Young, our president. She is on an overseas international assignment right now. She's doing a heck of a job. She's going to be giving a presentation to the conference, and we'll be putting that video of the presentation online. That'll be awesome. And she's been on top of everything in Portland. She's doing a great job. So we're very, very excited for all the work that she's doing. So give a special shout out to Elizabeth Young out there in Athens, Greece. She'll be back next week, and she'll be giving a full report. And the night before, and this is wild, but the night before the event that we're having in Portland, the night before, we're having a special event about the World Anti-Imperialist Platform. And that is going to be, that is going to be the night before. It'll also be in Portland. Jyoti Brar of the Communist Party of Great Britain, Marxist-Leninist, is going to be the keynote speaker at that event. And it's going to be dedicated to the World Anti-Imperialist Platform. This is the night before. This will be December 1st, not December 2nd, December 1st. The night before, we'll be having a special event, a report back from the World Congress of the World Anti-Imperialist Platform. So if you're already in town the night before, be there. Listen to Jyoti Brar report on the World Anti-Imperialist Platform. There'll be other people speaking. There'll be some music. It's going to be really, really, really awesome. So that's the night before. In addition to that, we're going to be on December 3rd. We're going to have a religious gathering for those around the CPI community that are people of faith. That's going to be awesome. We'll be launching kind of the ministry that's aligned with CPI for people of faith. We're going to be having a Palestine rally on November 30th. We're going to be having a rally to support the Uhuru movement the following week. I mean, there's just so many great things happening. If you are not part of the CPI community, you are missing out. We are on fire. New members are joining all the time. Somebody new just joined today, from what I understand. And we have new people signing up who want to get involved. We're doing shit. This is not an online movement. This is an IRL movement, an in real life movement. And so I just wanted to update you all on what we're doing. And I guess I'll just put this quick reel of what we're doing on here, and then I'll get to the meat of what I'm talking about. So there we go. Yes, that's us. That's the Center for Political Innovation. A great community. People are joining every day. We're putting on great events. We're about to have our first national convention. We've had big conferences before in Chicago, in Austin, Texas, and in Washington, D.C. And now we're about to have our first full national convention. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be absolutely awesome. So now I'll just jump into my opening remarks. As I said before, do what Fishops did and give me something to talk about in the second half of the program. Send me a Rumble rant, a super chat, a Rockfin tip. Give me something to talk about in the second. Just want to talk about what it is that I want to talk about. What it is I came on here to talk about. Oh, I got to plug my mic, get my mic back. Is my mic? Yeah. Mic is back functioning. All right. So I wanted to start out tonight by showing you a very, very important clip from Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping, president of China, came and spoke to the United States. He had a meeting with Joe Biden. And then he had a special banquet afterwards, reception here in San Francisco. I just want to show you some of what he said in his speech. This is what the president of China, this is a very short clip from the president of China when he was in San Francisco.
And never interferes in its internal affairs. China has no intention to challenge the United States or to unseat it Instead, we will be glad to see a confident, open, ever-growing, and prosperous United States. Likewise, the United States should not bet against China or interfere in China's internal affairs.
Yeah. Xi Jinping said that what China wants is a prosperous United States. It wants the United States to do well in the world, but it wants the United States to do so in a way that's not at the expense of other countries. He wants to see a prosperous United States. He doesn't want to unseat the United States. He doesn't want to overthrow the United States. He doesn't want to interfere in American politics. He just wants to see an America that's prosperous, that also allows China to be prosperous. That is the position of the Chinese Communist Party. They want a better America, but they want an America that gets better in a way that other countries get better at the same time. They don't want America to get rich by making other people poor. They want America to get rich in a way that other people get rich as well. They want win-win cooperation. Let me emphasize that once again. Win-win cooperation. And you would think this would just be kind of common sense, right? I mean, China benefits a lot from American investment. America benefits from doing business with China. It's pretty basic. And Xi Jinping came here to the United States. He met with Joe Biden. They didn't see eye to eye on Taiwan. Joe Biden called him a dictator, which was stupid. But overall, the thrust of what both countries said was, we want to get along. And Xi Jinping, who's got a degree in Marxism-Leninism, who's overseeing a revival of the red culture and the communist ideological language and aesthetic, he made clear that what he wants as a communist, as a leader of China, is a better America. He doesn't want to see America fall. He doesn't want to see the United States collapse into chaos. He wants to see the United States prosper in a way that China can also prosper. Win-win cooperation. Now, to anyone who's hearing this, who's not familiar with leftism in the United States, this probably isn't shocking. They would expect that he would say that. However, unfortunately, if one listens to American communists, if one listens to the people in the United States who claim to be socialists, who claim to be revolutionaries, you don't hear that message. You hear that America is an evil, racist settler country. You hear that they hate this country and all the wealth of this country is stolen from people all over the world. And they want vengeance and they want reparations to be paid to the people around the world. And they want to destroy this country. Well, that's not what the leader of the world's largest communist country said when he came to America. He said the opposite. In fact, that's actually not what the leader of Vietnam has said when he's visited this country. That's not what Fidel Castro said when he visited this country. Fidel Castro went to Harlem, he would speak, and never did I ever hear Fidel Castro call for America to fall apart. Even the North Koreans, when I was in Ecuador for the World Festival of Youth and Students in 2013, when I was in Sochi, Russia in 2017 for the World Festival of Youth and Students there, when I was at the World Conference of Parliamentarians in Russia in 2018, I met with North Koreans. And the North Koreans, they didn't tell me they wanted America to burst into flames. They wanted America to fall apart. No. They said, we have no hostility toward the American people. We are against the American government. We are against the imperialist system. And that's what imperialism is. Imperialism is an economic system where some countries get wealthy by making other countries poorer. The essence of imperialism is holding back economic development. It is about preventing countries from building up their own economies by utilizing the export of capital, where the corporations based in the Western countries dominate and spread their tentacles all across the world. They seize the world through territorial partition. They make sections of the developing world into what they call captive markets. They violate the self-determination of countries. And in doing so, they make super profits for monopolies, monopolistic cartels, trusts, and syndicates based in Western countries. This is the definition of imperialism, according to Vladimir Lenin. Lenin wrote a book called Imperialism, the Highest Stage of Capitalism, and he described an economic order where a small group of bankers and billionaires and ultra-monopolists in the Western countries, in Britain, in the United States, in Germany, and in France, held back development around the world and dominated the global economy. Imperialism is capitalism in its monopoly stage. That is what Lenin said imperialism is. And the whole history of communist and socialist revolutions around the world has been countries breaking out of that system, breaking out of imperialism, and establishing control of their own economy, their own natural resources, their own markets, and then using state central planning to build up their own industries, to build up their own power plants, to start utilizing their own natural resources, to industrialize, to electrify their countries, to wipe out illiteracy, to build the country up. That has been the history of socialist revolutions in the 20th century. Countries have been under the dominance of imperialism. The boot of imperialism has been holding them in poverty. China used to be the sick man of Asia. Libya was a deeply poor country. Cuba was the playground of the mafia and an island full of poverty and destitution and hunger. And then these countries had revolutions. And with these revolutions, they overthrew capitalism. They kicked out the imperialists. And they launched 5-year economic plans, and they built power plants, and they built steel mills, and they built, irrigation systems. They built hydroelectrical facilities. They built universities. They built new bridges. They built new flooding dams. They built, railway to connect the country. They built new schools and universities. The whole history of socialism is countries breaking out of imperialism and building themselves up and taking control of their own economy. That is the history of socialism. And it has been very successful. Socialism invented space travel. Socialism turned Russia into a superpower, turned China into the second largest economy in the world. Under the leadership of Gaddafi, Libya had the world's largest irrigation system, the Great Man-Made River, the highest life expectancy on the African continent. It was Abdel Nasser, the socialist leader in Egypt, who brought electrification to the country, built the Great Aswan Dam hydroelectric facility, and brought electricity to all of Egypt. Socialism as an economic system, you look at the medical system of Cuba that's admired all over the world. Socialism has been countries that are under the domination of imperialism, breaking out of imperialism and using central planning and rational control of the means of production to build themselves up. That's what socialism has been. Socialism in our time is the struggle against imperialism, and imperialism is capitalism in its monopoly stage. Karl Marx believed that the socialist revolutions would first happen in the Western countries because he saw history as moving forward in stages. First you have hunter-gatherer civilization, then you have the slave system, slavery, then you have feudalism. Out of feudalism comes capitalism, and Marx said out of capitalism would eventually come socialism. Capitalism created the working class, the proletariat. The proletariat would become the majority. They would seize control of the means of production. So Marx thought that Europe, because Europe had become capitalist first, Europe would be the place that the socialist revolutions would happen first. That's what Marx believed. Marx actually thought Germany would be the country that first had socialism because the socialist movement in Germany was so popular, because the labor movement was so popular there, because Germany had come into existence with the Revolution of 1848 and the uprisings that had involved many socialists, etc. But Marx was wrong. Marx was wrong because he didn't foresee capitalism moving into its monopoly stage. He did not see capitalism becoming imperialism. Marx thought that capitalism would just continue to develop in the way it was developing during the industrial era. And that is not what happened. Instead, those corporations, those industrial corporations that set up the factories in America, the Rockefellers with Standard Oil, the Morgans, with General Electric, there's many of the, you can go down the line, many of these, Carnegie with his Steel Corporation, U.S. Steel, these industrial capitalists, eventually they became bankers and they moved into finance. And eventually industrial capital was subsumed by finance capital. And then the industrial corporations that were under the domination of finance and banks weren't satisfied to simply control and dominate the United States. They decided to start dominating the entire world. You had the export of capital where these corporations spread across the planet. And that led to a situation where, because these huge corporations based in the Western countries were making so much money from dominating the world, from keeping the world poor, it got to the point that they were able to start paying a better wage to some of the workers in the homeland. And some of the working class people in Britain and in the United States and in France and in Germany saw their living standard go up as the corporations they worked for spread all over the planet. And that led to a divide in the working class. You had the quote-unquote skilled workers, and you had the unskilled workers. You had the trade workers and the labor or industrial workers. And there was a divide in the working class. And that section that was making higher wages, they were called the aristocracy of labor. And they were the better paid sections of the working class. And they became less revolutionary because of the fact that they were seeing some benefit from imperialism. They were still workers. They were still not getting paid the value of their labor, but they were seeing things start to get better. As the capitalists, as their bosses were doing better, they were starting to see a little bit of that, starting to see a little bit of the crumbs. And so they became less and less revolutionary. They became less and less revolutionary as a result. And that is what ultimately led to World War I, because the socialist groups and the labor unions were dominated by these guys, the labor aristocrats, the working class people who were from the skilled trades who got higher pay. And when World War I broke out, they supported their bosses and they supported the war. And they sold out. And even though many of them had pledged to never support a war, never support a capitalist war, many of them had promised they would never support a capitalist or an imperialist war. When World War I broke out, they sold out and they supported World War I. And that laid the basis for the divide between social democracy and communism. And the communists, Vladimir Lenin, Rosa Luxemburg, and others, they opposed the war, and they stood in solidarity with people in Africa and Asia and Latin America that were trying to break out of the Western system. Whereas the Social Democrats supported the war, and they saw socialism as just a means of gradually perfecting the Western system, making it more democratic, making it more fair, making it more efficient, so it could more effectively dominate the world. Imperialism was the basis of the divide, and the divide went on class lines. It went on a material basis, not on a class line, but on a material basis. The workers who benefited from imperialism tended to be social democrats. However, the workers who weren't benefiting from imperialism, they tended to be communists. And that was the divide. And the Soviet Union became the leader of the global communist movement. And social democracy, the British Labour Party, Norman Thomas in America, the German Social Democratic Party, they became the dominating parties in the Western countries. Social democracy became a vehicle for stabilizing Western capitalism. Communism became a vehicle for countries breaking out of imperialism. And ultimately, it was understood that the duty of communists in the Western countries was to mobilize the working class in the homeland to stand in solidarity with the workers around the world. It was their duty, it was the duty of communists in America to get working people in America to side with the people of Africa and the people of Asia, and the people of China and Vietnam and Cuba and all of that against their bosses and the bankers in America and the Wall Street money sharks of America. It was the duty of communists in the Western countries to get working people, the working class majority in their homeland, to realize that their friends were the people of the world and their enemies were at home on Wall Street. It was to realign the working class of the world. That was the job of the communists in the Western countries. Their job was to get the working class in the homeland to realize who their real friends were and who their real enemies were. And their main opponent in doing so was the aristocracy of labor, because the aristocracy of labor was always trying to rally the workers to support the imperialists. It was always trying to rally the workers to believe that their capitalist bosses were their friends, trying to demonize the socialist and revolutionary countries, etc. That is the orientation. And it's really important to understand all of this. This is pretty much Marxism-Leninism 101, but this is really important to understand all of this because a lot of people are completely confused on these points. Completely confused on these points. And we must be absolutely clear about this. If you are a communist in America, your job is to get American workers to understand that the reason that their jobs and their homes are being foreclosed and they're losing their jobs, the reason a police state is being set up and the reason their government is spending millions on war while their family is left behind is because the government is run by a bunch of bankers and billionaires and fat cats, and that the people of Russia and China and Iran and Venezuela are also fighting against those fat cats. That is our job. It is our job to align the people of America with the people of the world against the Wall Street monopolists, against the big corporations, against the big banks. That is our job. However, there are many people these days going around calling themselves communists, calling themselves socialists, who don't want to do that. Instead, they believe that somehow imperialism is good for the American working class, and they just believe the American working class are the enemy, and they just believe that shaming the American working class, telling the American working class that they're racist, that their life is just too good, is their job, and that they should advocate making life worse in the United States. Why? I don't know, because that'll show everyone that they're the good white people and they're not racist like everyone else. That'll show everybody that they are woke and they understand white male oppression theory. I don't know. I don't know what you want to call it. But that is the belief of a lot of so-called leftists. They believe that it is not their job to make the case to the American people that their real friends are in Russia and China and their real enemies are on Wall Street and in the Pentagon. They instead believe that it is their job to make enemies out of the American people and help destroy the United States. And what's interesting is that it used to be that the imperialists went around the world destroying countries and stabilized the homeland. But in the time period that we are living in, where capitalism is having a long-term meltdown and crisis, we're seeing the imperialists also become cannibalistic and destroy the homeland. It's not enough to destroy Africa or Asia or Latin America. Now the imperialists want to destroy Pennsylvania and Ohio and Michigan and Montana and North Dakota and Tennessee and Texas and Iowa. The imperialists have turned inward and they're devouring the homeland of the United States. They're devouring the working class of the United States. Living standards are going down. They're setting up a police state. They're taking away people's rights. And this creates a great moment for communists to do what it is we're supposed to do and get people to see that their real enemy is at home and that their real friends are around the world. This is, if anything, the perfect moment to be doing that. This is the ideal time to make the case that the future of the American working class is at home, resisting and breaking the United States out of imperialism and building a new America that can be prosperous and can trade with China on the basis of win-win, that can get wealthy as other countries get wealthy along with it, that can see the country overall rise up from poverty. That should ultimately be what we do in this time. In this time, we should be saying to American workers whose lives are getting worse and worse that socialism is the answer, that imperialism is your enemy, that the imperialists are the ones destroying their lives, just like the imperialists are destroying the lives of people around the world. Pretty basic. Pretty basic. But the thing is that that's not easy. It's not easy. A lot of the workers in America have been inculcated with anti-communism their entire lives. A lot of the working people of America have backward ideas about all kinds of different things. And it doesn't give you an emotional rush, right? It's much easier to just shake your fists and be mad and yell than it is to do the actual work of organizing the American people into a real anti-imperialist movement. But that is the necessity of the time. However, there are a number of people on the internet who claim that they agree with me about China. They agree with me about Russia. They agree with me about Venezuela. They agree with me about Iran. But they curse me and they smear me and they swear, they fume with hatred against me because they don't disagree with me about the world. They disagree with me about America. They disagree with me about America. And they hate America. And some of them, a lot of them don't even live in America. Some of them do. But they have decided, no, the American people are no good. The American people are all racist. The American people are all awful Euro settlers. And they have turned it into an internet grift, a way to make money by talking against the United States, by speaking up China, by speaking up Russia, etc., talking against the United States and talking against the American people at the same time. And they get boosted on social media. Very mysterious. They're not tied to any organization. They're not organizing anybody. They're not building any demonstrations or protests or anything like that. They're not building any communities. Instead, they're just on the internet. A lot of them aren't even in the United States. And they rant and rave about how evil America is. And anybody who starts to do any real organizing, and anybody especially like me who dares to say that we should be trying to win over the bulk of the American population, they find a way to go after them. You know, when the folks at the LaRouche organization were going and disrupting AOC, disrupting the pro-war members of Congress, these people that claim to be anti-war, they didn't applaud them. They did an attack piece against them and called them fascists. When my organization was out there having conferences and organizing people, they didn't applaud us. They did videos saying that patriotic socialism is actually a front for white nationalism, which is a lie. And a couple of these people actually know me on a personal level, have known me long before either of us were internet personalities. They know that I'm not a white nationalist. They know that I've been in left-wing circles my whole life. They know that I'm married to somebody who's not white. They know that that's bullshit. But they don't care because they think it will advance their career to run my name through the mud. And they have targeted me on a personal level. They've spread lies about me. They have joined cancel culture, hate campaigns against me. And on top of that, they do so. They join with people who hate Russia and hate China, hate Venezuela, hate Iran. And when those people attack me, instead of defending somebody else who supports the same countries they support, they see it as an opportunity because they see me as a competitor because they're grifters. They're not building a real movement. They're not trying to get anything done. They're just trying to make money on the internet. You see, it's all just a big money-making game to them. All right? It's about how many views and likes can they get, how much advertising revenue can they make. And so anyone who's watching me is not watching them. So if they can tarnish my reputation, if they can make me feel unsafe, if they can create an atmosphere where I'm hated, if they can spread lies about me, that's a way to advance their individual career and make more money for themselves. And these people are not good people, right? And they need to be called out for what they're doing, right? They're not good folks. And they don't sound like the leaders of all the socialist countries. They sound the way they sound. They sound like the woke left. And the woke left, as you were all aware, is paid for by the wealthiest capitalists. The Ford Foundation pays for the woke left. George Soros pays for the woke left. The Rockefeller think tanks pay for the woke left. The woke left is funded like you wouldn't believe. There's all kinds of money funded to promote people who say that America is a racist, sexist, homophobic country, but also support America's regime change wars, also hate Russia and China and Venezuela, and also think Donald Trump, because he didn't support these wars, is somehow a dictator who's just like Putin, just like Kim Il-sung. There's a whole lot of money in the woke left. And the woke left is trying to destroy America. I mean, they are. And they're trying to destroy America, not because they want to create a socialist America, but because Wall Street very much wants to bring in austerity. And in order to bring in austerity, you have to divide people. And one of the big messages of the woke left is that you're not allowed to organize for economic justice. They have a term that they use for it. They call it class reductionism. The Medicare for all marches, no, can't do that. Those were bad because they were just calling for Medicare for all. They weren't calling for, an end to white privilege and mansplaining, right? They're against labor organizing. They're against economic issues. They're against infrastructure and building infrastructure. Instead, they want to focus on talking about why some Americans are bad and some Americans are good, why some Americans are victims and some Americans are oppressors, why some Americans, their lives are too good, and some Americans, their voices have never been heard. And they want to create a narrative. They want to divide the people of the United States. They want to divide them so that everyone can get poorer. When the pie is only this big, the only way your slice can get bigger is by cutting into somebody else's slice. And nobody ever thinks that their slice of the pie is too big. So whenever the pie is only this big, you're going to have fighting. The population is going to become stratified and divided because the pie can only be this big. And that is the basis of the synthetic left worldview. They think growth is bad. They think the problem with capitalism is that it creates economic growth, which is ridiculous. And their argument is the pie can only be this big, but the pie of white Americans is too big. The slice of pie of Black Americans is not big enough. So we're going to fight it out about who deserves to get a slice of the pie that can only be this big. That is the message of the woke left. Well, that has nothing to do with socialism and Marxism and communism. Communism says the pie can get infinitely bigger. There is no limit to human growth and creativity. The limits to human growth and creativity have been falsely imposed by the capitalist system, by the irrationality of capitalism. Under capitalism, poverty is created by abundance. And we have a situation where people become homeless because there are too many houses, where people become hungry because there is too much food. Capitalism puts artificial restraints on human growth. But the idea is that if we overturn the anarchy of production, we have a system where the banks and the factories and the major industries and the centers of economic power are organized to serve public good and not the profits of a wealthy few, where we have central planning, not the anarchy of production, not the chaos of the market. We can get to a situation where the pie just keeps getting bigger and living standards just keep going up, and we can ultimately march toward a world with so much wealth and so much abundance that government isn't necessary, that inequality fades away. People just kind of do what they feel like doing and take what they want, from each according to his own ability, to each according to his needs. That is the ultimate goal, but getting there requires getting vast abundance, and getting vast abundance requires abolishing the chaos of the market. Socialism is about eliminating the chaos of the market, planning and organizing production, and having a government of action that controls the means of production so that living standards can constantly expand. That's what socialism is all about. And Marx talked about this, but before Marx, people even talked about it. I will link you in the chat. I will link you a short story that was written by Edward Bellamy. Edward Bellamy. It's on Wikisource. I'll link it. Edward Bellamy was a great socialist in American history. He wrote a short story to explain socialism called The Parable of the Water Tank. Go and read The Parable of the Water Tank, and you will understand the problem of capitalism. Starvation because of abundance. Go and read The Parable of the Water Tank. The Parable of the Water Tank. That is the problem with capitalism. And what the woke left promotes, they think growth is the problem. We think the problem with capitalism is that it holds back growth. They think America needs to be destroyed because it's an evil, racist, sexist country. We think America needs to be reborn and that the American people would benefit from breaking out of imperialism. They think that we need to go backward. We think we need to go forward. They think the people are the enemy, and we love the people. And there are some clear differences between us. We love the people. They hate the people. They want to go backward. We want to go forward. They think growth is bad. We believe in growth, etc. There are some key differences there. And that's why we don't sound like other socialists. That's why we don't sound like other leftists. That's why we sound like Xi Jinping. We sound like the leader of Cuba. What is his name? Miguel Diaz-Canel. We sound like him. We sound like Daniel Ortega. We sound like Nicolas Maduro. We sound like the revolutionary leaders around the world who are trying to lift their people up out of poverty, who want an America that trades with them in a fair way and isn't trying to crush them, who want to see the United States become more prosperous. That's what we sound like. We sound like genuine communists sound around the world. And these people sound like the woke left, even though they may disagree with the woke left on foreign policy. They still sound like the woke left. There are clear differences, and we need to be clear about where these differences lie. Even if you agree with me about Russia and China, if you think that the American people are the enemy, there's a big difference between you and me. If you are just trying to make money by building a social media brand and you don't care if any real organization ever gets built, there's going to be a real difference between you and I. I am not in this to make money. I am not in this to have my face all over social media. I am in this to build an organization. I am in this to organize the people of America to be anti-imperialists, to build a network of Americans who stand in solidarity and sympathize with the colonized and oppressed people of the world. I am in this to build a new America. And it is just common sense that if you are organizing in Brazil, you don't say fuck Brazil. If you're organizing in Vietnam, you don't say fuck Vietnam. If you're organizing in Zimbabwe, you don't say fuck Zimbabwe. If you are organizing in France, you don't say fuck France. But for some reason, the first rule of being an American communist is you must say fuck America or you must be a Nazi. You know, and we refuse to follow that rule because it's a dumb rule. There's a bunch of artificial rules that have been imposed on leftists and communists and others in the United States. They've told us that we aren't allowed to do things that would make us effective. Well, we refuse to do that. We want to be effective. We want to win over the American people. We want to build an anti-imperialist movement. But there's a layer of people said, oh, you can't do that. You just have to build a fringe group of people that operate on the margins of U.S. society, that recruit like the most radical Democrats. That's what you got to do. Well, we say, nope. We are going to go lower and deeper to the real masses. We are going to win over the American people. That's what we're going to do. The American people are seeing their living standards go down, and they are opposing these wars, and they are opposing the American government that lies to them and is violating their rights. And so it is our job to go and turn their opposition to the intolerable status quo into revolutionary internationalism, into anti-imperialism, and into sentiments for building socialism. That is what our job is in a time of crisis. That's what our job is. And I don't care if that makes you popular on social media. I don't care if that people find it gratifying. That is what our job is. Our job, I will say one more time, is to mobilize the people of the world, mobilize the American people to stand in solidarity with the people of the world. That is our job. Our job is to get the American working class to see that its common interest is with the people of the world against the imperialists. That is our job. So I hope that people learned from this. I hope that these remarks were clarifying for people, that it helped people understand what we're about. I'm very excited about our upcoming conference. I am an anti-imperialist, etc. So I just wanted to get that out there. So why don't we now do our roll call, names and locations, and I will call you all out as I see you. We've got 2 super chat questions that I can answer, but if people have any more super chats, shoot them my way. And then from there, I'll answer people's questions, but roll call, names and locations. Names and locations. Who is with us tonight? Names and locations. Who is with us? I'm not seeing anybody in the Rumble. I'm not seeing anybody in the Rockfin, but I see that people are here. We got Micah in Las Vegas. We got Nick in St. Louis. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got Ishmael in Los Angeles. We got Brad from Cleveland. We got Isaac in Vancouver. Chris in Salt Lake City. Neil Fraser in Hong Kong. H.G. Wells. Stephen in Riverside County, California. Mariah in North Carolina. John McCarthy in Chicago. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Rupert Fellows in England. Dustin Schlesinger in Cleveland. Herb Bryant in Tampa, Florida. Zaire in Denmark. Jamie in St. Paul. Carolina Iwa in Berlin. Finn in Duluth. Balthazar in Oakland. Alex from Brazil. Anthony in Detroit. And Kiwi Dave in New Zealand. NoHo, Richard Sawaki. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Jenny Lynn in Cincinnati. Jenny Lynn is with us tonight. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Names and locations. Names and locations. Names and locations. So glad to have you all here with us tonight. Names and locations. Names and locations. Who is with us? Names and location. Names and locations. Who is with us? Leaf Jacobson is in Oaxaca. Colin is in Greensboro. Jenny Lynn is in Cincinnati. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Names and locations, folks. Names and locations. Who is with us tonight? Names and locations. Names and locations. Names and locations. Ryan in Kansas City. Welcome, Ryan. We got Dave in Rochester. Lioness. He's on the Rumble. On the Rockfin. I don't see anybody on the Rockfin, but on the Rumble, we got Dave Lionel in Rochester. Very, very good. Oh, Shoni is in Los Angeles. Welcome, Shoni. Good to have you. I am in San Francisco until tomorrow. We got John Whitty in Houston. Welcome, John Whitty. Good to have you with us. Good to have you. All right, folks. Well, now we are going to put on Wish You Were Here because I meant to play it the other night. Roger Waters' song Wish You Were Here performed. This is obviously not the official version. This is somebody doing their own version of it. And then I'm going to answer people's questions. So if anyone's got any more super chats, shoot them my way because I've only got 2. And so it's going to be a mighty short show if I don't get some more super chats. So let's do it.
So you think you can tell? Yep, right. Heaven from hell, blue skies from pain. Can you tell the green field, cold steel rain, fire from a veil? Do you think you can tell? Heroes and ghosts, white ashes for trees, change. How I wish you were here. We're just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl, year after year, running over the same old ground. Have we found the same old fear? Wish you were here. How I wish you were here. We're just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl, year after year, running over the same old ground. Have we found the same old fear? Wish you were here.
All right. Well, there you go. That was somebody performing their version of Roger Waters' Wish You Were Here. So now I've got two super chat questions. If any more come in, I'd be happy to answer them. And they're both about something that I don't know much about. So the first one is thoughts on C.H. Douglas' concept of social credit. I don't know who C.H. Douglas is. And I don't know his concept of social credit, but I'm Googling it because I'm going to learn what it is. Social credit is a distributive philosophy of political economy developed by C.H. Douglas. It attributes economic downturns to discrepancies between the cost of goods and the compensation of workers who made them. That sounds an awful lot like the theory of overproduction. Sounds an awful lot like it, right? That's very interesting, right? It also sounds a lot like what John Maynard Keynes called underconsumption. That's interesting. To combat what he saw as chronic deficiency of purchasing power in the economy, Douglas prescribed intervention in the form of issuance of debt-free money directly to consumers and producers in order to combat such discrepancy. That's kind of like what we have, food stamps, etc. I mean, a lot of government welfare programs basically serve that purpose, right? But that's John Maynard Keynes, right? You just have people spend money. You have the government dump money into the economy in order to keep people spending, and the what do you call it? The welfare state, the military-industrial complex, corporate subsidies, all of these things are done to deal with the ongoing problem of overproduction. It's interesting, right? This is an interesting analysis, right? He's not a standard Keynesian who calls it underconsumption. He's not a Marxist who calls it overproduction. He calls it social credit. That is a very, very interesting theory. So, yeah. What a lot of people don't seem to realize, and I've talked about this with Richard Wolff and others, is that they make it sound, if you listen to people who follow the economic theories of Friedrich von Hayek and all of that, you would think that capitalism just on its own just works out just fine. It never occurs to these people that there's huge amounts of government intervention in the economy just to get capitalism going, just to keep the capitalist market moving along, right? There's all kinds of government intervention to prevent the formation of what they call natural monopolies. There's many, many examples there's so many examples of antitrust legislation and government spending and subsidizing the economy. The market left to its own devices doesn't just naturally work. Why do they think we have all of this? They think, the reason that the government buys all kinds of cheese from farmers and buries it is because it's all just a big, communist plot or something. It's like, no, it does that to keep the price of dairy high enough that agribusiness doesn't go under. That the welfare state, is very, very much the result of real failures of the market. And that the way economics has been taught since the 70s and 80s, you don't acknowledge market failures. It's like, all the problems of the market just come from the government intervening. And if the market just naturally does what it's supposed to do, is left to its own devices, everything will be fine. And that is just not the case. That is a delusional school of economics that, that's called, it's neoclassical economics, Adam Smith economics. And for 100 years, people have known that that's bullshit. So there you go. So, all righty. Thoughts on Colonel Douglas MacGregor's new political organization. I had no idea that Colonel Douglas MacGregor was forming a new political organization. Colonel Douglas MacGregor, new political organization. I'm just Googling this. What's the new organization he's formed? He's a fellow with the American Conservative. That's Pat Buchanan's magazine. But what's the new organization that he's forming? He was Secretary of Defense, former advisor to the Secretary of Defense under Trump. But what's the new organization? I know that he's a harsh critic of U.S. foreign policy when it comes to Ukraine. He's said a lot of very amazing things about the conflict in Ukraine. I've really, admired some of what he said about the war. But what is this new organization that he's forming? I'm not seeing that when I Google it. I'm not seeing a name of an organization. So I'm looking at his Twitter. Looking over his Twitter. Military analyst, CEO of OurCountryOurChoice.com. OurCountryOurChoice.com. Is that the name of his group, Our Country, Our Choice, provide Americans with the tools, information, and skills to proactively preserve and strengthen the security and prosperity of our great nation. Okay. If you love our country, please join us together where we can change the destiny of our country. A message from Douglas McGregor. Okay. All right. There you go. Christians, do not shrink, but speak up. Our Country, Our Choice, OC will provide the tools. Well, sounds like a think tank. Good for him, right? We devote ourselves to family, God, and country, to save our country and our children and the soul of America. We live in 3 pillars of civilization: our equality under the law, cheap energy, and freedom of speech. We believe in the merit-based society based on intelligence, character, and work ethic. Okay? All right. Well, good for him. Good for him, you know? Yeah. Looks interesting to me. I wonder if they're having any conferences or events. I might go check them out. I'll try to see. Looks like a think tank. It looks like a political organization of some kind. So yeah, I'm amused, right? It looks amusing. Very professionally done website. I'm amused. I'm interested. You know, there you go. I don't know what to say about it. Let's see what they actually do, right? I see what they're against, but I'm not seeing. Let's see what they end up doing. Let's see what activities they carry out. You know, I'm seeing a website, but I'm seeing where we stand. You know, but I'm not seeing action. So let me, you know, wait until they do some action. Once they do some action, I will judge them by what they do. As Jesus Christ said, ye shall know them by their fruits. All right. Did you see Scott Ritter's Substack article on October 7th? I did not. 3 people have asked me tonight about things I do not know about. He frames it way different than almost anyone else. It's very eye-opening. All right. Scott Ritter Substack. I don't know if I have time to read it on the air here. But it's very new. October 7th, Hamas attack by Scott Ritter. I will have to read this myself and figure out what to make of it. Scott Ritter is a brilliant military analyst. He knows the weapons. He knows the way military confrontations work. So I would be very curious to see what Scott Ritter has to say. I admire Scott Ritter a lot. I think he's a great, great person. So there we go. There we go. All righty. Well, if nobody else has anything they would like me to talk about, if there's nothing else, I guess we can shut it down from here. I'll probably be back maybe on Sunday. I'll be on the road all day tomorrow. I'll be traveling. I'll be on planes and automobiles, no trains, but planes and trains, planes and automobiles, no trains. Yeah, so it's been fun. Glad we had an opportunity to chat. I'll be back in New York City soon. I'm going to be in Portland, Oregon from November 29th to December 12th. That is when I will be in Portland, Oregon. So a lot of exciting things are being planned. We are going to have our first national convention. I mean, look at this all-star cast. And I did check the Give, Send, Go. Thank you to everybody who sent us a contribution, sent us a $5 contribution or more to help us do the event. That'll really help Elizabeth. She'll be less stressed out about finances, etc. It's going to be a great event. I'm very excited. My focus is on that. Even while I've been out here, I've been working on different aspects of the event, meeting with people, etc. Shout out to Alex. Alex, you know who you are. Met with you. Local contact organizer. Great things are happening. Great things are happening. So thank you to everybody. It's going to be a great, great conference. So I guess I'm going to put on the closing music. We'll put on the closing music, and we will go from there. So yeah, if no one else has any more questions or anything, I will put on the closing music. in the struggle against U.S. imperialism is now emerging throughout the world. Ever since World War II, U.S. imperialism and its followers have been continuously launching wars of aggression. But the people of various countries have been continuously waging revolutionary wars to defeat their aggression. And while the danger of a new world war still exists, and the people of all countries must get prepared, revolution is the main trend in the world today.